Hello, I'm Graduane, and my throat's a little dry. I think it's time for a little poison from the mainstream. Alright, this is a show where we're going to discuss some of the various problems with mainstream comics, comic stores, etc. The business has a lot of problems. Let's discuss a few of them. First one we're going to discuss is the problem of reboots. DC's having a big reboot again. Marvel's done it a few times, DC's done it a few times. I'm not sure if Spawn's done it. I know Archie's done it a few times with their superheroes. What's the big deal? Why is everyone so concerned about changing the characters around? Like that's a woo! Big deal, big deal. Well, it goes like this. You got, aside from the usual people who buy those kind of comic books, you have two main groups of people. People who are fans of the characters, and people who are fans of the series. Now, this isn't a problem exclusive to comic books. People who might read comic strips in the newspaper, people who watch TV shows, dramas, sitcoms, what have you. Even people who like video games, they all have this, the makers all have this problem. They have both types of people enjoying their product. On the one hand, you have people who like the characters. They might latch onto a certain character. They might like a certain detective on a cop show. They might like a certain character in a video game. They might like a certain superhero. And they follow that person, throughout whatever show, whatever series, whatever comic books the character goes. Wherever they hid. If they're in a crossover, they'll take that. If they're in a solo series, they'll watch that or read that. They want that character. They love that character so much. It entertains them. Fine. I'm like that with a few of my own characters I like. Hey, everyone has some favorites. Go Roadkill. But on the other hand, you have the people who like the series. People who have a favorite series. It's not so much the characters in it, it's all the characters, the situations that they get into. It's formulaic, but damn it, it works and they like it. Maybe you're into car combat games. Maybe you're into detective shows or cop shows. Maybe you're into superhero comics. Maybe you're into certain strips in the paper. Yeah, I don't judge. I like certain comics. I like certain TV shows at times. Everyone has their favorites. So, what happens when you change things around? You might be getting rid of a character that people like, for whatever reason. You're going to be taking off those fans. The fans of those characters. And, of course, every change involves disrupting the formula for a little bit of time. And if people like the formulaic series, they might get a little ticked off at the changes that go on there, too. Here, let's take a look at something. Here's a Venn diagram that pretty much describes the problem. On the one side you have the fans of characters, and then on the other you have the fans of the series. Yeah, there's a whole lot of overlap. People who like characters usually like the series they're in, and people who like various series usually like the characters in them. So when you change things around, you run a big risk of ticking off both sets. And if you do that, you could get the show canceled, you might ruin the sales for the series, the video game might go nowhere, who knows. Oh, that little dot up there? If it's a TV series, that's me. Thank you, digital signals. Like, I couldn't get signals strong enough before in analog. Now I can't get them at all. Thank you, digital signal legislation. So as you can see, this isn't a small problem. Writers have to be concerned with the show in both senses, both as a character-driven vehicle and as a formula-driven vehicle. If they try to change around the characters, they run the risk of ticking off the fans of the characters. If they try to change around the formula, they run the risk of ticking off the people who have grown to love more of the same. What's a writer to do? What's a studio or a publisher to do in that matter? What are they to do? Whatever they need to get new viewers. So what if they have to take risks? You always take risks in life. You always run the risk of losing sales in any regard, if you do nothing or if you do something. A number of indie publishers have made changes. Look at Fred Perry, for example. He's dropped Brittany Jha and Gina Diggers from the lead roles in his book. Instead, now they have a supervisory role, and others have taken their place doing the adventures. They'll help out, but they're not the main characters that the readers focus on. Some people don't like it. Some people might prefer Gina and Brittany. Some people might prefer less adventure-y stuff and more family drama from the Diggers family. But Fred Perry is sticking to his guns. This is his series. He controls it. He decides who's in the lead, who's backup, who doesn't get an appearance. He's made some changes. And I, for one, welcome them. I don't like all of them, but he's at least trying to do something new with this series. And he appreciates that you do eventually need to do something new with the series in order to get new readers, and he appreciates that the fans of the series, both of the formula and of the characters, will still stick by the series because it still has what they like, just not in exactly the same way as before. And I would say for the most part he's probably doing well. Why can't the mainstream appreciate this? A reboot every few years? Make it a big event? Why? Why not make it gradual? This character now has something different. This character, Green Lantern, is no longer Hal Jordan. How about that? It's now an alien. Or Batman has to retire. He's too injured. Somebody else takes over permanently. He's now an advisor. He now fulfills the role that Barbara Gordon did, only for Batman alone. How about that? Something like that, something along those lines. Maybe Superman needs somebody to replace him. Can't come up with the storyline, but I'm certain a writer could, who writes for that series. Or for Marvel, change up the X-Men lineup. They've done that a few times, but they keep going back to the core because people don't like it when you replace those characters, even though people hate those characters. They're one-notes and they're boring. Come up with something new. Heck, I could come up with new stuff from the Marvel role-playing game that came out in the 80s. See, that's the problem. They don't want to take the risk because they don't want to run the risk of permanently losing readers, even though their readers are pretty much dropping off. There's nothing new, and their old readers, yeah, they want something a little bit newer. They have the same group of 3 that I discussed in my other show, sticking with them no matter what. And they still have the same group of 2 sticking with them for now, even though those numbers are getting smaller. They have a whole lot more media to compete with. It's a complicated issue. Even a graduate like me finds it hard to come up with a solution, except for the obvious one. If you're going to make a change, stick with it. Don't go back. As soon as you go back on one change, the readers will say no change is permanent. Everything will go back to the way it was. I'm surprised Tony Stark is still an alcoholic at this point. I'm graduating. It's time to finish off that poison. That's good, DC. Or was that Marvel? No, I'm tasting a little Shield in there. I think it might be Archie.
This has been Poison from the Mainstream. And remember, it's just like any other poison. Too much and it can kill your common sense.
If you like my analysis, why don't you check out Trendy Indies over at Blip TV. Dark Driver analyzes comic books the same way I analyze the comics market. I'm certain you'll like it.